Hi, everyone. Welcome to a special This is Bipolar exclusive extra episode that I'm putting out this month, mostly because I need it. I'm really excited today to talk about some tips, tricks, strategies, things that we can do to get through and maybe even enjoy the holidays with a mental health disorder. For those of you that haven't listened before, I'm Shaley Hoogendoorn. I am a mom. I am an event planner, a speaker, a mental health advocate, and the podcast host for this podcast. And I'm glad you're here. The main thing that I talk about is living with bipolar 2 disorder. And I bring on guests, and I just love talking to everybody. So today I'm bringing on Charise Jewell, and I think you were one of like the top first 3 ever that I did a conversation with. And we've been fast friends ever since. And so this is Charise Jewell. I will put all her details below, and you're going to go and follow her, and you're going to buy her books. She was one of the first, besides Julie, a co-host, memoir, that other bipolar memoir that I have read. So it's called Crazy, A Mom Gone Mad, and I loved it. And her other book is for middle schoolers. Yes.
Yes.
I love being a teacher because I think we should talk about it whenever. But Charise, tell us something that I haven't mentioned about you.
Oh, let's see. Well, thank you for that great introduction, first of all, Shaley. So I'm just thinking of my bio, what my bio caption reads. I was born in South Africa. I moved to Canada when I was 7. I used to be a robotics engineer, and then I became a writer. And like you mentioned, I wrote my first book is called Crazy, Memoir of a Mom Gone Mad. It was my memoir after I was diagnosed with bipolar 1 back in 2017, just after I turned 40. And then after that one was published, I started writing my second one, Normal, which is for middle graders, because I have 3 kids. That's something I don't think you mentioned. But so when I was having my manic episode and I was hospitalized, my kids, I couldn't find many resources for my kids when I was eventually able to look later on. So I wrote this book for kind of my kids and any kids whose families or themselves are going through it.
Yeah. I love that so much. I think I just did a parenting episode, and I think that was like my number one thing is like being honest at their age level, right? Because a lot of people are like, oh,
Yes.
you can't talk about that, they're too young, but their brains will take in what they're ready for. And
Sure,
so
and they're so afraid if you don't talk about it, they think it's so much
exactly.
worse than what it is. So
Yeah. Exactly. And I just think that because of work like yours, things are changing. Like my one daughter actually did a whole project on bipolar disorder. And then she just did a slam poetry poem, and she talked about chronic pain. And it is like, I cried. It is beautiful and hard and sad, and she had to perform it in front of her class. Also, surprise, has some anxiety.
yeah.
And was not afraid to talk about it. She was afraid to give the speech, but not because of the topic. So I thought that was really cool.
Very cool. How old is your daughter? I know you have 2
So
daughters.
yeah, so
Yeah.
16, and then I have an 18-year-old as well.
And so
Because
the 16-year-old one was doing the
yeah,
slam.
so
Wow.
because like, what is life? Like, who has what? Teenagers? I don't even know. You know what? Launching young adults is the hardest thing I've ever done. I just have to say that. It's so hard
Yeah.
and so fun and so awesome. So
So exciting, but like really real stakes. Like
yeah,
I have 7, my oldest is 17. So
yeah,
like things like driving and university, like all the real stuff that it's like, oh, you're not a
yeah,
little, diaper, like potty
yeah,
training anymore. Like this
yeah.
is like
I
really
know, I
cool.
know. And you're like, it can be overwhelming because it's like, oh my gosh, if they make mistakes, they're actually big. Whereas before I was like, if she doesn't eat enough carrots, she might not be
Yes.
healthy. Now I'm like, I really hope she doesn't crash the car.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
interesting, which actually I'll be able to bring this into our tips and tricks in Christmas too, because of just talking about changes. So remind me to do that after we
Okay, I'm
start
gonna
to
make a
talk.
note.
Yeah, to talk about changes, like what Christmas things I have to do now that I didn't have to do when my kids were wee.
Yeah, and vice versa. I am very happy to not do Elf on the Shelf.
Yes.
anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that
Yeah.
was a
And
big
then
relief.
now I'm so glad I don't have my own classroom, because now it's getting done in the classroom because I'm a substitute. Yeah, it's getting done. But you know what?
Too
When
much.
I did it, the first few years, I loved it. I was
Yeah.
so into it. But I'll tell you a funny story. Okay, this is totally on brand bipolar. We're basically, Charise and I are just going to talk. So hopefully you get a tip or two. Good luck.
Yes.
But I saw at the dollar store, there were like little elf on the shelf journals and pens and pens. So one of the days I gave this to the kids, right? Huge mistake, because one daughter decided she was going to write to the elf every night in
no.
hopes for a response. So
Oh
not
no.
only
Then you
had
had to respond. Oh,
not
Shaley.
only did I have to hide the damn elf to do cool stuff, I had to write to it. And with twirly, I couldn't even print it on the computer. I made up this twirly, honestly. And then
Yeah.
she was so funny. She'd be like, one of them, she's like, could you draw me? I don't know if she was trying to like sniff out the elf or what. But yeah,
Yeah.
here I am at midnight trying to draw her this stupid elf journal.
Okay, I'm gonna work in a tip for this. So this is one of the things it took me, especially as a parent, it took many years, but even not as a parent, to be able to say no to things and to the extra. And sometimes it's even to myself at Christmas when I'm thinking, well, we're doing family dinner and it'll be really great if I do this. And I come up with some idea that, and I start to work on it. And then I realize I need to say no. Like I need to just push back on whatever workload. I need to tell that little girl some reason why the little elf can't write back because something, and just put an end to it, because otherwise it's just, it all piles on. It's getting so much every year.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, I agree. I usually before medicine would get hypomanic. I'd get a hypomanic blip around Christmas with all the hype. And so pre-medication, I could do all the things because I wasn't sleeping, right? So I did all the things. So then that became, even after medication and after being like a regular sleeper, it literally impossible. But for years in my head, that was a standard, even though that was a standard with me being actually ill, right? My brain didn't understand that. And so, and I think now, like back then, there wasn't even Instagram to look and compare to,
and to say, oh, that recipe looks amazing, I'm gonna make those cookies tonight.
Totally. 10 hours later.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you don't even like to bake regularly, right? I mean, I don't know if it's all over the world, but there's like a sugar shortage, like a strike or something. And
really?
Yeah, and I'm using it. Like that's why I'm barely baking. Well, the sugar strike. I mean,
that's a good reason. Okay, I will say another one of my tips then, because it's a good segue, is less sugar. Because from Halloween through Christmas for years, I would be overloading on sugar, and then I would be depressed all the time. I mean, November's that's my hardest month anyway. So I'm typically like, I would go get the Halloween treats and eat sugar and feel like better for a minute and then worse. And so since Halloween, I've been really aware of, I've got to not just splurge on everything just because it's here doesn't mean I have to eat it. Like just hold back on the sugar. And same for alcohol. Like there's always more, people drop off wine, or like my son's hockey team is doing a wine raffle. Like there's always more alcohol this time of year, but it doesn't mean I have to drink it. Like, or even the Christmas dinner, there's always plenty of alcohol, but I always have to know my limits, and I don't always stick to them perfectly, but I know like, okay, well, that was my second glass of wine, so now I really should stop, kind of thing. So less sugar, less alcohol. Just keep things.
Isn't it a time to feel like you do everything in excess, right? And then with living with bipolar disorder, that is kind of a symptom, right? You exactly. So you can easily get carried away. And when I'm hypomanic, I'm chasing, you're chasing the high, or without even knowing it. So wanting to do all those things. And I think that's a really, really good one, because for years with depression, I have they don't call it an eating disorder because it doesn't last all year, but I had definitely had disordered eating. I had binge disordered eating. So I get this idea in my head around Christmas, other holidays too. I get this idea in my head that I'm never going to have access to that again. Like,
Same. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, similar, like I have the similar feeling, like it's here now, someone else is going to eat it and then I won't have it again.
exactly.
Yeah. I'm
Right.
sorry to cut you off.
No, 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 no. And so for like one of my examples is like, it seemed to me, I don't know if it was like in my kid head or what, that Nanaimo bars were only available like this is a Christmas thing. It's a Christmas thing. So I would eat it till I felt sick, and I would just, anytime there was a party, like, oh, and I don't know how to make them. So if someone has a homemade one, are you kidding me? And then I was like, hold up, I'm an adult. I could make Nanaimo bars in July. And I bet you someone will sell it to me. And I bet you someone might even deliver it to my door. I mean,
Maybe it's possible. We live in a really like wacky world.
right. And so yeah, that access, and then the sugar too. We have to, we're trying to keep our mind healthy. Instead of having like, I would have a whole bunch and then I would restrict and not have any and then have a whole bunch again. Well, I had my friends. I have 3 friends. We have our little Christmas gathering. We had to have it really early because schedules. And
Yeah.
so I make chocolate covered cream cheese balls, and then I roll them in score bits. Mm-hmm. I know, when we hang out, we can have 2. We'll have
Sounds good.
and
That'll be perfect. And half
yeah,
a glass of wine.
perfect. And then so I had already made them, and I was like, but it's not Christmas, like I'll wait, and then that week I'll eat all the treats. And I was like, no, 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 hold up. The way that I combat wanting to overdo things is I do a little bit a lot. So I've been having one every day for 2 weeks, and I have one, and I'm like, even though I, at the end, I'm like, oh, I want more. I'm like, you'll have another one tomorrow. Like there's enough available. And I think that, I don't know about this scarcity thing. And I think
that's really great, Shaley. That's really good willpower. Like I feel like I would want to have them too much and I would be too tempted to keep doing it.
yeah, it's taken a long time, and it's not always right, because I was in this mindset too with, I was overweight in high school, or what they called overweight. What is that even mean? But I went to Weight Watchers or whatever, so I have like, don't drink your calories in my head. And I also had we figured things out. Well, as a teenager, I was like, okay, the day I get weighed, then I'm going to cheat and eat all day, and then I'll start again. So I always had this mentality of, cheat or whatever. And now I think of it like, this is a snack. Right. And tell me, like, honestly, it doesn't work all the time, but I've just gotten to a place where I'm like, I can have it again.
Yeah, that's an important one. I learned that recently. I can't remember what I was reading, but it was something where it was like, if you tell yourself, like, I'll have more later versus just, no, I can't have any, like, it's just a much better way to accept it, I guess.
Yeah, for
Great.
sure.
And I bet they're delicious.
They are. They're really yummy. Yeah, they're very yummy. I'm kind of like looking at them this year. I'm like, do they seem bigger because I'm only going to have one a day? Anyways, all that to wrap up. Our tip is not about dieting, not about restricting. We're talking more about just ways to be able to not
moderate, like just not overindulge and
and not just in sugar, like in all things Christmas, basically.
And everything that I mean, it's like it's person dependent, right? So even screens, for me, I know when I'm like crossing the line between enjoying what I'm doing on my phone versus being frustrated by what I'm doing on my phone. So if I know my limit, like it's like alcohol or sugar or whatever, if I know it's going to affect me at a certain point, then I can recognize to just, okay, take a break from that and do it again later.
Yeah. And if you're someone that's thinking, well, I don't even know, ask your people around you, because they
Yeah.
notice, and they will notice, and ask them to tell you kindly, or maybe write it on a piece of paper so that they don't tell you and you get mad and hurt feelings and get in a
Yes.
fight.
And they're
Like,
like, you told me to tell you.
exactly. They're like, why are you mad at me for doing the exact thing you asked me? I'm like,
Yes, exactly.
just write it in a note. I'll read it later. But yeah, that definitely. And I think that's one of the biggest one. Know your triggers, right? Know your triggers. And I think I do this now, and I learned it in therapy, but it's like taking stock of the past and planning. So for example, if you go to this one family dinner where, mean Aunt Helga or old dirty Uncle Paul, sorry, Helgas and Pauls, I'm just throwing things out there.
My dad's name is Paul, Shaley. I don't know.
He's awesome. You're awesome. Yay.
But I don't know any Helgas, so Helga is safe.
Okay, let's go. That is going to say something, that triggers you, or someone that they might be, whether it be like saying something racist or commenting on something on your life or being passive aggressive or any of those things.
Political, yeah.
Yes, political, right? Be prepared that this is probably not the year that miraculously isn't going to happen, if it happened the last 11 years in your life. So have a plan. What are you going to say? Are you going to say anything? Is this a very good time to use the washroom? Right?
Yes.
Like, have a plan, and then go over things that haven't worked before, because I tend to go back to my go-tos, right? And I am very like justice oriented. So if people in my family, I feel like it's that exact time to educate them, and and go in there. And because I'm loud and my family's loud, we go at it. And I'm like, okay, I'm not okay with saying anything if someone says something racist, or you know what I mean? I think telling a joke. So I have a few things that I say, we're actually never going to agree on this, so I don't want to talk about it anymore.
That's good.
I just say that. I just say we're actually, I see this is going nowhere. It infuriates
Do
people.
people respect that? Yeah, I was just gonna say, so it infuriates.
Yeah, so I'll just repeat it. If
Oh,
they
good.
keep going, I just repeat it. And then eventually what can you really say to that? Because then you kind of look, like I just don't
Like,
want to talk about this.
shut down. So why do you keep
Yeah,
poking?
because a lot of time it's like us trying to convince each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I have that one. And then I also kind of have learned to change the subject. Or what I do is I just plan to like leave at that moment kindly, or I always do this. This is my main tip, is I have a drink in my hand, and not alcohol, but I'll have like water or something like that, because I can't pause. I usually just, right? So I make myself take a drink, because my therapist is like, count to 60. And I'm like, 60 is 5,000 years long. But if I can take a drink, I have seconds to think.
Yeah.
Or I say the next thing, right? Because we all, I don't know about you, but we all fall in our places in family systems, right? And I will go to a place in my childhood, or even my childhood home, and I revert back to what I was like when I was like 17. It's like any bit of therapy or work that I've done, just like throw it out the window, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think, like, does that happen to you? Do you have any
Oh, yeah. I
things
mean,
you do if you're triggered by family members or parties?
yeah. So I'm pretty lucky. Like, my family members, it's really my kids and my husband, my siblings and my parents. Like, it's really my immediate family. So I don't have any like too distant relatives that we get together a lot that I'm really offended by. But everyone, like, there's like 20 of us when we get together for a dinner. So everyone's going to have a different opinion. So someone's going to say something that I'm very sensitive, whether I'm, manic or depressed or anything. I'm very sensitive anyway.
Same.
And I also get easily agitated, and I can't think on my feet. I can't argue in a way that's logical. I usually have had some alcohol, and that's made my thinking worse, or my words come out worse. So I'm like, I just don't say anything. If someone says something that inflames me, I pay attention. Usually I'll be just kind of listening to see where it's going. And if a conversation is really starting to get irritating to me, And it's usually based on my own personal sensitivity. Like, for example, it's
True.
like ridiculous. I do not like football. So that puts me in a class of people that are like very small at family gatherings typically. And if people start talking about it, I get really irritated very
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
So I go away, I leave. I go to the
Yeah.
bathroom, I go to the kitchen to like just talk to whoever's in the kitchen. I go to
Yeah.
the basement where the kids are all hanging out. I
The
just go
kid
away.
table.
Yes, I have to just get away. And it's really important. Sometimes if I can't find a spot through COVID, there were times when I couldn't find a quiet place to myself. I also
Yeah.
get really overwhelmed by noise. So it's not like people are doing it intentionally or expressing an opinion that's frustrating me, but just the noise,
Yeah.
all the utensils on the plates, if there's like carols playing, sometimes someone's playing the piano, like it just really starts to agitate me. And I have to go out of the house and just sit in the car. Like
Yeah.
it's just a
Yeah.
quiet space I need to find. That's my
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. I also find another thing that I say too is if it's like a really wild opinion or something, to give myself a second and remind myself of someone's humanity before I tear a strip off. Yeah,
but
is
it's hard sometimes.
it
But good
is
for
it is
you.
very
Yeah.
hard. So I'll say, what brought you to thinking that? Why tell me more about that, right?
Yeah.
And even though it just sometimes you can see how they got there, or I try and see, or in my head, this is what I secretly ask. I'm like, what is their core wound and trauma?
You are much kinder and less judgmental than I am. I'm like, oh man, for a time, everyone would be talking about Donald Trump, and I would just be
Yeah,
like, I can't be at this conversation. Like, I'm just
too
gonna
hard.
hang out with the kids all night. Like,
Sure. Kid
yeah,
table, kid
yeah.
table. You brought up a really good one when you said you can go to your car. That is a tip that I've read that's actually really important to me, is to drive myself or be in a car that I can use, so that in case I need to leave or need a break, or like go
Have that
oh,
independence.
it looks like we're out of Coke, I'm going to go pick some up, right? I think that that's really important, because as soon as you feel like trapped or
Yeah,
anything,
it's
and like you
overwhelming.
said, we for those of you that are listening that have bipolar, in some situations we have some sensory things, right? And there's sometimes Christmas, all the senses, the smells, the this, the that, can
Yeah.
be overwhelming, or they can be comforting. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
We have to
definitely.
find that balance.
Yeah, definitely drive yourself if you can, for sure. I think
Um,
one of the things that I do, and let me know if this would work for your family or what you do in your family. So with that thinking that we have to do everything that we were talking about earlier, or I get overwhelmed with what is the best thing to do. So my anxiety is like, we have to do the thing that's best for our family, or this, or we have to do this many times, we have to see lights, we have to I get all caught up, this cookie, or we don't have enough of this. So what I do, at the end of November, we have to wait till after my daughter's birthday on the 29th, because we're not allowed to talk about Christmas before then.
I am a December baby, so I
There,
hear
there
that.
you go. You're with her. I
Yeah,
actually paid her. I gave her gas money this year to be able to decorate early for that party I was telling you about.
that's
I
awesome.
said, I'll give you a tank of gas. And she said, tank and a half. And I was like, done.
She probably doesn't even care that much anymore. She's probably just like, what can I get from mom this
Exactly. Smart,
Christmas?
right? Smarty pants. So we sit down and we actually, I asked the question, what would you be disappointed or sad about if we didn't do? What are the most important things? And then we have a column that, what are the things that you like, but it wouldn't be a big deal if we didn't do it. We even do it with like movies, because then we'd always be like, yeah, we'll watch them after. Oh, we'll watch it in the new year. And then as soon as it's December, like January 1st, I don't want to watch the Christmas movies. And then I'm
No,
sad I didn't watch the Christmas movies. So we make like lists of
that's
things.
smart. That's a
Yeah.
good idea. And then everyone can prioritize what they want to do. So we're a little different because I always take the path of least resistance
Yeah.
because I'm lazy. I am always trying to just reduce my workload. Maybe I'm not lazy, maybe I'm just busy, but I'm
Yeah.
always like, if I have an option of like that's easier than
Yeah.
something else, I always choose the easier option. So if my kids have not expressed that they want to do anything in particular, I'll probably ask them like, do you guys want to go look at lights? We haven't looked at lights in years. I don't remember the last time we looked at lights, but every so often we'll do something that's like festive and it's fun. And otherwise, I just do the things I like to do. So we put up our decorations, but they're so minimal. I don't bake. I hardly bake through the year anyway.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I just really try to minimize everything. I try to do it as low key, and they've never complained. Like I know that feeling you have in January
Yeah.
of we didn't do it, we didn't watch it, and we should have
Yeah.
watched that movie. But it passes, right? Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And it'll come next year. Like you can always
Next
do
year.
it later.
Yeah. Weird thing about Christmas, it comes every year.
Strange, right?
Yeah.
And like we're all so busy. I find some of the stuff when we've tried to do it in the past, it's so hectic trying to get. There was a festival of lights we went to one year that everyone was going to because it was COVID. So you could stay in your car and drive
Ah,
through all the lights, and it was beautiful. It was a fun night, but it was so hectic that day. And to try to pull it off that night, it was just a very, very stressful experience. So when we got there, we're driving through, and I was like, this is great, but I could have been at home. Like I don't care about this experience to have made it worth all of this
yeah.
pressure to get here and do it. And I think it helps. It
Yeah.
helps me anyway. My kids have never complained. I hope they don't have resentment. My mom did everything. Christmas, it's still her favorite holiday of the year. And she went all out every year. And I think I'm revolting against that because I saw how like burnt out she was and how it didn't really matter. Every little detail, like
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I focus on the things, like obviously my family has the input that I said, but focusing on things that you like, because I don't know if like the first, I don't know, 10 years of the kid's life, I don't know if I actually thought about what do I actually love.
right,
Right.
because you're just pressured to do everything, especially when they're little.
Yeah. Right. And I am an elementary school teacher and I am over the top. So let's put this out there that I am terrible at other things, like a lot of other things, and don't do a lot of other things. It just happens to be the things that I do are very Pinteresty. So it looks like I am super
Amazing.
mom doing
Yeah,
lots of
it looks,
things, but
yeah.
it's those are everything else, like making dinner every night. Ew. But
I would way rather have your score a cheesecake than dinner every
right.
night. Like that's perfect.
Right. And so I actually figuring out what I like to do. And I always felt like I had to, have a letter, Christmas pictures, da, 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 da. And some years I really enjoy it. We do photo shoots. I love it. My kids will still do it for me. We get these professional photo shoots that make us look like we're a way nicer family than we are, and that we use them, right? But a couple, like, as the kids got older, I'm just like, why am I doing this? And then I don't like leaving anybody out. So I was doing like 75, 100 cards. And then I also didn't just want to sign our names. So then we'd have the letter that we would do. And then I'd have to print all the pictures. And then I'm not very good at math. So generally I'd probably like, I can't bear to throw them away. They're in the Christmas decor extras of those pictures because I probably bought like 100 of one. So I have just
Yeah.
so much, and I get really overwhelmed. And because none of our family lives here, I thought that I owed it to them because of the kids.
Yeah.
And so then I just decided I'm going to
Enough.
do it the years I want to, and I hadn't for a bunch of years. And then last year I really felt like it. So this year I started to feel pressure, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. One thing we do though, because our families do live apart, and I know it's just their highlight, it is easier for us to we like videos, right? So we each sit down in front of the tree or in front of some kind of decoration or something, and we say like our top 3 things of the year. And then like that we liked or that we're proud of or that we did. And then we'll do something silly, like say our favorite carol or something. Or one year
Okay.
my husband had us do like our family Christmas quotes, and mine was just like totally dumb. And I didn't know he like practiced his and did it in the Grinch voice. I was like, I didn't know it was supposed to be this good.
Rehearsed.
Yeah, he totally rehearsed. It was so cute. So, and then I'll like post it online or email the link. And then everybody, feels like they know about our year or
That's
whatever, but I'm
awesome.
not
Yeah,
printing all these letters. And so
that's
I've
great.
tried to see what my capacity is. And then even if it's something I don't like to do, I found a way to do it in a way that's
in a way that's
easier
not
for
to,
us.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I think that's exactly it. Finding what your capacity is, doing the things you enjoy, and when you're feeling that you don't enjoy it, like recognizing it and
Yeah.
not letting the guilt be
Yeah.
overwhelming, because it'll just pass. We do
It,
something similar. We don't do a video, but we do a New Year's Eve tradition where there's always something online, like a worksheet online about
yeah.
starting
Yepers.
the new year with like your 3 favorite things from the past year and your like resolutions. It doesn't always say it's a resolution, but like goals for the new year
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. And just like my best memory, like those kind of things. And there was one year where I was like, oh, what's the point of even doing this stupid thing? Like no one else cares about it. Why should I bother printing? Even though it's just printing a form. Like
Yeah.
it's really not a big deal, but that's how much I avoid doing extra. And then my son came along, my oldest, at like, I don't know, after lunch or something on New Year's Eve. And he was like, are we going to do those forms? And I was like, yes, we're going to do those forms. Like that will motivate me to do it if other people care about it.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I
it's
love
just
that.
recognizing what you want to do and
Yeah. And
prioritizing that.
yeah, and I think this is always going to lead back to one of our biggest tips. It's like know your capacity, right?
Exactly.
And sometimes that's not easy to know.
For sure.
But what I do is, again, like it sounds like so much preparing, but it really doesn't take that long. But I try to write down signs to look for, right? Because when I'm in it, I can tell you all the things I'm supposed to do because of therapy. I can tell you, but then when I'm in it, you're full on in it and you can't. So I'll be like, whoa, I'm all of a sudden I'm feeling very hot in this conversation, or I'm feeling this, or I try to write down my few warning signs, because if you really dissect things and look back, you can find early warning signs. You really can. Yeah.
And you can head them off. Like I've had those same feelings, like I'm feeling really hot, like go get a glass of water. Like let's just take this down a notch kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart.
Exactly. And you know what? One of mine too is like being honest when I'm not holly jolly. I cannot tell you how many tight friendships or bonding conversations I've had with people that are like, yeah, hey, I'm not feeling that Christmassy today either. Or you know what I mean? Just
Oh
talk.
yeah.
It's so freeing. So many people. And in fact, last year, I think I don't do New Year's resolutions, but I do a word for the year. And I had a low grade depression for a while last year. And anyways, my word wasn't a word, it was a prefix. It was ish. So I was going to do everything ish. I didn't have to be the world's best mother. I could just be okay-ish or whatever. So then my friend made me this mug. And if you're listening, it has like Christmas colors on it, and it says happy holidays ish.
That's
Or I used
awesome.
to say happy ish holidays, and she put a little sad dog on there.
Aw,
But
awesome.
it lightened things for me, right? Like I'm
For
like
sure.
I can do ish. It's originally from a book where this little boy is learning to paint and doesn't think he does well, and then ish.
Yeah, I think we read that book years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of have like claimed that idea of, if I can do it, I can do ish, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can do happy ish. I can do,
Yeah.
great-ish.
That's
So
perfect because ish is plenty. Like if you think about what you remember of your parents or what your kids will think of in the future, like they will never think ish wasn't enough, you know?
exactly.
But how lovely that your friend like validated everything about that
I
and
know.
commemorated it with this mug. Like that's
I
amazing.
know. That would be a tip. Hang out with people that get you and accept you as you are. Sprinkle that in with
Yeah.
some of your obligations, because I know we need to set boundaries, and there are people that have, you have to not see, but generally it's more like, for me, it's like an irritation or like I can't just cut everybody off. So I try to sprinkle in things with people that I know will remind me of who I really am, and
Yeah.
love the ishness of me.
Yes.
And then so when I have to hang out with people that I feel misunderstand me, then it balances.
Somewhat balanced. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. I used to always too, when I was hypomanic, funny story, I would
Aren't they
hand
all?
uh, I would hand I love crafting or making or being creative, so I would make everything. This is before kids, and then I made myself do it within kids. I didn't think it had to be like handmade. So I would be up, I'd be swearing like a trucker trying to make these stupid candles, or they're this or that. And then it really set me up for failure because I felt like I had to do it like every year.
Yeah.
So to replace that, I do gifts, I try to make things easy, but one of the things I've been doing lately to replace that pressure of it being special, just because now having older kids, it's a lot of gift cards.
Yeah.
It's not fun, right? It's
Yeah.
not fun for me.
Easy. Yeah.
So I try to gift experiences.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I'm
What
trying.
experiences do your girls like?
So yeah. So for my girls, like I could buy the gift card and then make an experience of it. Like first we're going to go here and there and whatever. For my girlfriends this year, I did, it also has a like kind of a gift with it, but I bought these like macrame kits and I
Okay.
made this invitation, and it was an invitation to crochet or craft with Shaley. And then I told them, light things to be served or whatever. But I love that kind of stuff. I told them we're just going to
Awesome.
hang out in our pajamas and try to learn how to macrame. Do I know how to macrame? No, I do not know how to macrame. So we're going to learn together. Or for someone this year, I know they don't really go to the movies much or anything. So I'm going to buy them those, like the one that comes with like the full on popcorn and movie from Costco or whatever.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then my other friend and I were like, oh, let's not get a present. Let's go to high tea or stuff like that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Really fun.
Yeah. So I'm trying to do that because I put such pressure on myself that everything has to be so meaningful. And then,
I do that too. And then a lot of my gifts backfire, or they used to. I don't do it so much anymore, but I used to do stuff, especially for my husband.
Tell me, I need to know the stories.
Oh no, I don't know. Just I would give something that was like meaningful. Like there was one of our anniversaries where I gave him this like crystal glass that was from our wedding. And inside it had the Chinese teacup that was from our wedding. And it had like just a few little symbolic things from each of our kids. And it was all like symbolic for the number of years we'd spent together. But it was all just like stuff I'd collected around the house and just put into this little glass and given to him. So he was like, what is this? Like what, like it didn't really, I was explaining it and he was like, okay. I was like, okay, I guess we're not doing meaningful gifts anymore. Like, I should just be buying you like, I don't know, a new shirt or something.
You're like, don't reject my very meaningful gesture.
My very meaningful gesture. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of my gifts go over the heads of the people. There's something where I will remember a detail that someone said, like my dad, he was commenting last year on, we have one of those fatigue mats or anti-fatigue mats next to the sink. So when you're standing
yeah.
So he was commenting on, oh, this is a really comfortable cushy, like was admiring it. So I got him one for his birthday thinking like, oh, he'll be really like pleased about it. He was like, oh, what is this? Like he didn't even know what it was. He didn't remember the conversation. So I was thinking like, I gotta stop trying to be meaningful and thoughtful and just buy a gift card. Like I do buy gift cards for everything, but they saved the day. Well, I don't make mine fancy invitations like either.
Okay, mine is I know. I realized I made that sound super fancy. I basically just wrote it. Okay.
Still very lovely, very thoughtful.
As I was saying it, I'm like, I'm telling people to simplify things, and I just made this not simple at all. But for me, that's a me kind of simple gift, right? Like I would like to do that.
Yeah, no, it sounds so fun. I want to be invited to your macrame party. And
totally can. You might not end up with anything nice macrame.
It's all good.
We'll have fun. We just want to sit in our jammies and have experiences together. But
perfect.
Hey, I just thought of a really embarrassing story, and I can't even believe I'm going to tell this, but I am. So one year I was super hypomanic. We went back to my parents for Christmas. So hypomanic that I don't like to bake. Like I just don't. I ended up doing like at my school, there was some kind of, because I'm a teacher, a fundraiser where you buy the cookie dough. Okay. So I think I bought like 10 dozen. It was ridiculous. I gifted everybody you just had to bake it, but I was up at like 4:30 making these cookie dough cookies at my parents that I brought all the way from Vancouver. So we drove the cookie dough like 11 hours. So anyways, just to tell you how hyped up I was. So I thought I was going to be really funny with my husband. And when you get hypomanic or manic, like it just seemed like it was so hilarious. And that I think it was so hilarious. I
And
don't,
everyone's just looking at you.
yeah, I don't think that it could be embarrassing. I don't think you have no,
No, it's
right?
perfect. It's
Yeah.
perfectly logical
So
and
I
hilarious.
thought, oh my gosh, okay, I'm gonna die. So I thought I'd do, it was sexy stocking. So such a dork. Like I put in like, like little, those things you can get in those shops, like dice, like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, kiss the cheek. Let's go with that. And all those kinds of things. Oh, and I put in balloons that, like, when you blew them up, they look kind of like boobs. It was things I would never buy. Like I'm dying inside just telling you, but I feel like
That is
somebody's
hilarious, but it's also hypersexual, right? Like that's me and
exactly.
hypomania. So
Exactly. I think I put like in the stocking like lingerie for myself.
I'm sure your husband would love that though.
He was okay later, but it was at my parents' house. I'm the oldest. My brothers are there. My dad, my mom, and Rob is opening it, and he is not like me. Like I don't get embarrassed. I'm just like whatever. And he was dying.
Of course you
And I was like sitting there
amazing.
deeply, like laughing, deeply offended that he didn't think that this was
This
the
was the best
awesomest thing
stocking.
ever. So
Oh, that is fantastic. I think you should reprise it this year for Christmas with your girls there. See?
yeah. Sorry, Rob.
That is amazing, Shaley.
But then they got into it. We blew up the balloons and then we were like hitting them around. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's so fun.
Like, but you know what? The worst thing was is that like my family didn't even think it was weird. Like that's how used to my shenanigans.
Yeah.
Like maybe anyways, yeah. So even still, like my husband cringes if I bring it up.
That is
I don't think
awesome.
I
That
don't
is
think
like
he listens to the podcast. Don't tell anybody. Don't listen to the podcast, Rob.
I think that's fantastic.
But
But I
yeah,
could totally see doing that too.
right?
Like, I'm thinking it was like really amazing, like just brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, gonna go over
And I
so
probably
well.
spent like $250. Like, do you know what I mean? Just for a job.
Yeah. But so did he enjoy the lingerie after?
Well, maybe. He might be listening, so he'll
So he
die.
didn't cringe
He'll
too much
die.
then.
It was a good idea. Not I just wasn't reading the room or
Yeah.
the Santa situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot about that aspect of it. I was like, well, that's not so bad. Right. That would be mortifying. I would be,
Yeah.
if I was.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We're still married. Surprise.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I think too, one of these things that we're doing right now is like humor, like being able to laugh about things. I just sometimes it can get so tense and so wanting it to be perfect, and shopping isn't fun, and everybody's like out and tense and grumpy.
Everyone's driving and it's dark and everyone's
yeah. Where I live, it rains like all the time,
Yeah.
lots. And so I don't know, trying to have do fun things or put in funny things in my day, just to keep
Exactly.
to keep things light. And now it's pretty easy, you can do it for others too, is like sending memes. Like
Yes.
inappropriate Christmas memes are the best.
Yes.
They're
great.
so funny. So what I did to diversify my feed in Instagram is I followed a couple of like cute, funny animal accounts, specifically pandas, if you like them. They're very ridiculous. So I put those, and then I followed some like just funny accounts, because when you must know this, when you're a mental health advocate and you have a mental health advocacy account, like you follow everything else, sometimes there's not a ton of humor in there.
Yeah, it gets heavy.
Yeah, so I put some things in there.
Yeah, so this is one thing I do every year. I didn't do it very well this year, but in November, because I know I'm gonna have a rough month, I always do my small moments of joy, where I'm like very diligent of like planning, like this is gonna be my joy moment today. And it can be something really small, like picking up garbage is like my standard go-to because I feel like I'm doing some good, but that can just be 5 minutes if that's all I have. Or it could be like painting my nails or something, like spending time doing something with my kids. But the other thing about that is feeling like really planning to allow yourself time to enjoy something that you enjoy just for the sake of enjoying it. Like one thing I really like to do, and I'm not terrible, but I'm not great, is just skating, just going leisure skating. And
Yeah.
there was a year in COVID where the rinks were open, and I would go like pretty much every week because it was one thing to get away from COVID. So, and I would just be like doing my laps. Like it felt like a total waste of time because I'm not going fast enough that it's even exercise. So it's just like, it's just pleasure. But
Yeah.
I kept doing it and I kept thinking like, I'm really just enjoying it. Like, can I not just let myself enjoy something just for enjoyment's sake? But we're so busy, like now that it's not COVID, I don't really make the time to do that kind of thing anymore, right? So finding, like really making time to, amongst all the busyness of the season, to just do things that give you joy, and big or small, like time wise, just find
Yeah.
those things that carve them out to really prioritize them,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
laugh and
And
like
double check too that it's actually something that's appropriate to enjoy in front of others.
yes, a good point.
But I do love that. I love that. And don't you, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you do like a calendar of
I
things
do a calendar. You're good.
for
Yeah,
November, right? Because
for
November's hard.
November. And this year I was so busy. I did like I think 2 things from it.
Yeah. Tell
In a
us about it. Tell
picture.
us what you do.
Oh, I had it. I think I recycled it already. But they're just the things. So I just do the weekdays because the weekends are too busy with the kids. I know I'm not going to get anything done. Every Friday we have a hockey game. Someone has a hockey game. So my every Friday joyful thing is hockey. So it's really just 4 things a week for 4 days. So like picking up garbage, I'll do a pedicure, but like it's just me doing my nails. I'm not even going anywhere. So it doesn't take much time. Um, my daughter and I have a ladies' night. We didn't do it this year, but like we will watch a girls' movie and we'll eat.
Mm.
We both love tuna melts, so we'll eat our tuna melts, and the rest of the family doesn't like tuna melts. Stuff like that, like just whatever is fun. But you really, once you've planned for it, you're more likely to actually do it instead of just thinking, oh, I should do that one day. Like that'd be fun sometime. This year I watched the movie Major League. Do you remember that movie?
Yes. Yes, I
I
do.
think it was from like 89 or something. I remember like a bit of that movie. I knew I liked it. I forgot how much I really loved that movie. Like it was so funny. It was very offensive. There were a lot of
Didn't age well,
stereotypes,
probably.
and it was an 80s movie. Like it's the Cleveland Indians team. So
Yeah.
it's like there's a lot of
Totally.
stuff that hasn't aged well in there, but it was just so fun. And that was one day where I had like 2 hours and I was like, I can whatever. I can work, I can clean, I can watch this movie. I'm going to sit down and watch this movie. And I just had the afternoon to myself and took it, like how often do we do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. That's a really good one for sure. Just to do those things. And I love that that November is a hard month for you and planning ahead. I used to think it was so ridiculous, and I would almost be like embarrassed or mad or bitter that as if I have to plan ahead to try and enjoy things, or I have to
fun.
yeah, I have to remind myself of why leaving the house is a good thing or whatever. But once you embrace doing these things, they become habits, right? And the more good habits that we can build in will carry us through. And I was like, well, why bother? I don't feel better when I do them. Like you expect, I want miraculous. Like I want euthymia. I want to feel no symptoms. And a lot of times these things, they can give you little blips or whatever, but sometimes when you're really depressed, it doesn't change things, but yet it changes habits. And I find that it's easier to come out of something, right? Because I'm still moving forward, right? The worst is when I would shut down completely, ghost everybody, not do anything. And then when you feel better, coming out from that is almost worse than being in that, right? You've got to contact the people you've ghosted. You have to, see if someone will still let you, do the job you may have quit or whatever.
Catch
So
up on everything you dropped when you like everything.
Which leads me to a really important one that my whole body wants to say ick, because I like to think I'm carefree and I don't need schedules, blah, blah, blah. But keeping to some sort of schedule, because as soon as you give me any opportunity to stay up really, really, I will take it. I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm like it feels sneaky and naughty to stay up
Oh, it's
late.
so sneaky and naughty.
I'm
Like you're,
stealing the night.
yeah. But do you still do it? Do you still,
Yes,
you are, right?
I
Oh,
do.
sneaky.
I
No, I
do.
know it's so tempting, but I just find, well, now I have a better time. I don't have as much insomnia. I had insomnia my whole life until I was diagnosed.
Really?
Yeah, so I could never fall asleep. I was always a night owl.
Same.
Husband would go to sleep and like he would wake up at the crack of dawn and he wouldn't understand why I wanted to sleep in like on weekends. So yeah, but now my insomnia is pretty good. Like I've knock
Yeah.
on wood. I still have bouts where I have to take my clonazepam every now and then, but it's pretty good for the most part. So I'm usually tired. It used to be I was like wired at
Yeah.
10:30 and I'd start
Yeah.
to get into something, but now I'm tired. But
Yeah.
even if I'm not tired, I know I have to sleep. Like
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
succumbed to that.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, I should. I like to read. But it started out off as the kids, like I always stayed up late, but when the kids were little, and I didn't get diagnosed till they were 3 and 5, it was when no one had any expectations of me, right? I could just
Yeah.
be, do whatever, read a book, do this, but I always pay for it when I do. If I do
Oh
more than
yeah.
2 nights a week, yeah, I always pay for it. So some kind of routine. And then just because everybody else is staying up, I don't have to. Like I've really worked on my fear of missing out. I really have. And usually the later people stay up at Christmas parties or whatever, the sloppier and not, nobody makes
Oh
really good
yeah.
choices at 1 and 2 a.m. You really don't.
I can't do that for Christmas parties at all. Like even, yeah, I can't handle it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, we're always like, okay, we're out. Like we're like the
Yeah.
first people to go.
Yeah.
And everyone
And
else.
get back. My thing would be get back on track, because kind of what I do,
Yeah.
kind of like with the cheat days and the eating and all the weird tricks my brain tells me, is that oh well, I already stayed up late
I already
last
blew
night. I
it, so
drank too
why
much.
not blow it
Yeah.
more? So yeah.
And then you just give her, right? No, you can always try to get back on track. And the top ones, we know this: sleep, meds, like water, and some kind of moving my body, even if it's just moving from one room to the other, like not getting stuck. Those things I just really have to focus on. And they sound, well, sleep doesn't sound easy, but like water is hard for me on a regular day. When there's so many yummy Christmas drinks, why would I, drink water? So I've tried to do things that really help me. Is I always have like a cute water bottle, or I don't know about you, but I have a gajillion Christmas mugs. So I've actually started
Yeah.
drinking my water out of them. So this is
Yeah.
mine. Those of you that can't see, it's Elf and it says cotton-headed mini mug. So I'll drink
Very nice.
I try to make drinking water fun, because
Yeah, so I've always drank water. Like I don't buy a lot of juice or other drinks, so I'm not. And even Christmas, I like, aside from having more alcohol in the house, we don't really have a lot of more non-alcoholic drinks.
yeah.
So I don't have a hard time, but I like drinking water. But I do find I have a real preference for different temperature water depending on the time of day.
Oh,
In the morning, I just like it like from the tap, whereas
yeah.
later in the day, I like it iced. Like I don't know, but
Interesting.
also I'm on lithium, so I'm always thirsty. So I'm really used to drinking,
Lots of water. Oh,
and then
that's
I'm in the
interesting.
bathroom all the time.
Yes.
So
Yes. Well,
I
yeah,
don't have a fancy. I have a mug of water here too, but it's not in a fancy Christmas mug. It's just my plain white mug.
but it has the water. What's the temperature?
It's a nice, coolish room temperature. It's pretty good.
Coolest.
I like it.
Ah, nice. Love it. I also found some teas that I like that are herbal teas, to help with that. I don't know why I struggle. If I could drink like diet pop and iced coffee and hot coffee, like just that, I would be so
Yeah,
happy. But it's not a good choice. Don't do that.
it's not ideal.
And don't increase your caffeine over Christmas. Um,
Yeah, that's a problem for sure.
yeah, I'm trying to look. I did you For those that are my regular listeners, I say I never ever write notes. I actually wrote a few notes. You'd be so proud of
Look
me.
at that. It's a whole page.
Well, I was like, I'm going to be so excited to see Charise. I might forget to talk about this right thing.
Yeah. I made notes too. Mine aren't as
Okay.
much.
Okay. Yeah.
We
Tell me
covered them
something.
all. The only thing on here still is the thing you were gonna say about the Christmas changes with age.
Oh, yes. Yes. So tell me, Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a few questions. This will be
Yeah.
question Charise time. So did you enjoy Christmas more, like you, not them, when they were younger or now that they're older?
Oh, that's a good question. I okay, I'm gonna give a cop-out answer because I like all of it for
Yeah.
different reasons.
Okay,
Like,
tell me the
when they
different
were
reasons.
young, I loved the cuteness of it. They're still excited Christmas morning, so, like, maybe a different excitement, but they're still excited. Like, they'd come, they'd be all sleepy in their PJs, and then just the secrecy of, like, Santa and, like, the letters, like, all the
Yeah.
child stuff. Now it's really nice because they sleep in a bit. Like, they don't sleep that late, but they sleep in until 10 or something. So it's easy. Like, I don't have to wake up when it's dark out. And they're still excited. They're really helpful. Like, they're really for a while, my oldest one would do the secret stuff with me, and it was like our
Oh,
thing to help with the
yeah.
younger ones. And so that was a really nice transition. And then the middle one would help for the younger one. And then now she will occasionally want to do stuff as a secret for her brothers, like kind of forgetting that her brothers knew like many, many years ago. So I think there's just different aspects for both that are, and I think they have a lot more like we don't spend a lot of money, and they don't spend a lot of money on us or on each other, but they do stuff that's really from the heart. Like, they make really nice cards, and like,
Oh.
they'll sometimes make a little homemade craft as a little gift for each other kind of thing. So I think they are more appreciative now of
Mm,
like Christmas is family time. So
yeah.
both are great. I think they're both great. What do you prefer?
Wow. Wow. That's nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're in this weird, we're like, but yeah, we're like love hate in our family just right now in the ages and
Yeah.
hormonal times. But
Yeah.
yes, they can be very sweet. Um I would have to say I love the child part hands down. I feel bad. I love parts of now and we do cool things and the way we connect or whatever, but like I'm an elementary school teacher. I
Yeah.
actually never wanted my kids to be past 7 years old. I just
Yeah. It's
but I
hard.
also do this thing and I've realized that I used to just think it was like a character flaw or whatever where I like ruminate on the past or I romanticize it because sometimes my husband reminds me like it wasn't that like there were these things
Yeah.
it wasn't that great but I love the magic and when I was a kid so I have three brothers and then there's like a two are close 5 year gap, two are younger, so there was always kids and this and that going on and we didn't have a ton of money and so, and I always seemed to have friends that had a lot of money and got a lot of things. But Christmas was the time my mom would go wild,
Yeah.
right? Like she would just go overboard. And
Yeah.
there was just so much magic. And I remember even one time my mom was a nurse and had to work Christmas Day because you get like triple time or something.
Right.
So we all went to church and we lit a candle because it was Roman Catholic Church, lit a candle and prayed that Santa could come early because mom couldn't be there for Christmas. I don't know how they pulled it off, but when we got home,
Santa had come.
yeah.
Aw.
So it was like so magical. So all that to say is I have that in me and my love language, like how I like to show love to people is gift giving. So
Okay.
I do miss that. I went to every like gingerbread house the kids making. Like I was that person, but I did it to my own detriment, right? Like I would love it until I hated it and then was all of a sudden like yelling at my husband about how like I'm doing everything. I'm carrying Christmas. He's like,
Yeah.
you added 25 things to our list. like,
Yeah.
you know. So I definitely like that magic part of it, but it's kind of cool now. Like you said, I remember my one daughter getting in on it. She really wanted to, when she found out, she really wanted to stuff the other daughter who still believes stocking and she couldn't stay awake. And so then we woke her up and she was half asleep and she just chucked everything in. Last year, my other daughter that has a sense of humor, she did the elf, but she'd have the elf like she took a disco decoration and put it up and like it said this elf had too much to drink and one was like it was like really funny. So they're really
It's funny.
fun and funny, but I think there's still this tension of thing that I'm working through is that I like I'm trying not to guilt them into doing too many things, right? I'll be like, oh, you used to always want to watch movies with me. It's like they want to hang out in the room alone. If they come out to watch a movie, just be happy and not be
Yes.
like, do you know what I mean? Like I really am trying to not do that. I do that at their birthdays, and I really have to consciously not be like, talk about the past, like, oh, don't grow up, or oh, like always talking about how the future is going to be worse in some way. I think I always gave off that kind of vibe. So yeah, it's like you said, it's different, but there are things. One thing we did is COVID was so hard and so sad. I didn't want my kids to remember COVID Christmas as being horrible. So I thought, you know what? The only way we can do that is just to make it like either ridiculous or just something that will not erase, but kind of stick out in our minds more than how sad we were. We won't be able to see people. So we did backwards Christmas. So we all chose something that was kind of wacky. So I hate cooking and we eat everything or feel gross. We're eating all our candies throughout the day. I don't want to do Christmas dinner. So we got A&W and we still do it. And then I do Christmas Day, Boxing Day, I do the dinner.
Oh, that's clever.
And then one kid picked like McFlurries at midnight. And then I can't remember the other ones, but we did some like backwards Christmas stuff. And I was like, we just found a family tradition.
You're a new tradition. Like,
yeah.
I think those are the best ones, the ones you find. Like,
yeah, I do. I think that I think it's really important. And just like you call them, what did you call small acts of joy? Small
moments of joy.
Small moments of joy. Yeah. Lately I've heard it going around the internet, them calling the opposite of triggers is glimmers or
glimmers.
Oh, I love that word so much. It's so
funny. It's a great
but word. I feel like if we're not looking, we're not going to find them. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like when I'm on my phone and we're all just on our phones on the couch, but no one's together.
Yeah. So then my kids roll my eyes at me because I'm always asking them, what was your glimmer? And then they roll their eyes or whatever. And so then now they'll do it like, even though I think that they aren't listening, my kid, they'll send me like this meme. They're like, glimmer. I was like, yes. Even if they only get one a month, we're finding glimmers.
Yes. Good.
Yeah. I think, let me just look. Oh, one thing I said too was get outside.
Yes, I had moving, mild exercise, and nature.
Yes.
Fresh air.
Yeah, that's really important, especially as the kids get older, when we're trying to do things, it just really shifts things. And it's really hard here because it's hard everywhere, but on top of it, you get the darkness, which is everywhere, but here it rains a lot. So it's been hard to get out, and we've been forcing ourselves because we have our dog. And even when I'm out there and I'm mad that I'm out there, I do feel a little bit better.
Yeah, a little. It's hard. Some days it's like, oh, this was worth it. And other days it's like, I'm so cold. I gotta get back inside.
Yeah.
But then, like, I did it.
You're in Ontario, right?
Yeah, it hasn't been that cold. I mean, it's cold, but it hasn't been
that cold yet. Yeah. And then, and then the big one is just like, I love for my top two that if I had to do an Instagram clip, I would say the top two is the taking them one day at a time for sure. And my biggest thing that I've been doing is that learning from the past, like not having unrealistic expectations. And then I can't be let down, right? Like I put too much expectation on things. And then, whereas if we're looking for the small things, then
I used to always say it as lower the bar, like just don't have exactly that. Don't have such high expectations. Just lower the bar you expect and you'll never be disappointed. Which is kind of sad. Like it sounds very negative, but it's also true. Like it ends with a really positive result most of the time.
Ish, right? We can all do things ishly.
Yeah.
I think so. And you know what? That lowering the bar, especially when you're depressed, like you can trick your brain. Like if you put on your list, for example, when I get really desperate and I feel like worthless or whatever, all those feelings that you get, I'll write on the list. The first one will be like, write this list. And then I'm like, bam, check it off. Done.
It's great. There are some of those things, like there are days where I'm like, oh, I really don't want to clean the toilet, but I'll write it on a list, clean the toilet, and it'll take me 5 minutes and then I can tick it off and then I can feel better. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, a couple of mine would be make things easier on yourself too, right? Like, if you don't, everywhere makes nice things. You can buy cookies, right? Like you don't have to make them. Or I do, which I do year round, but especially now, like getting, um, I do online groceries and then I pick them up. But even
Oh,
sometimes now I'll pay and it's only like the extra $5 and get it delivered. Just,
yeah. No, I've been debating that because I just find, well, everyone's so grouchy most of the time, and it comes out a lot in the grocery store and the grocery store parking lot. And every time I go, I've been having some kind of like, it's so like frustrating. Like, why does it have to be like this every time? I've been thinking about doing online groceries. That's a
oh
good
my
idea.
goodness. Yeah, and you're in Canada, so the Great Canadian Superstore one is awesome. You also get to park near the front, and then they bring them out. I think it's $3,
Wow,
and they
that's good.
pick all the groceries. And if you're not happy, you call back. They'll give you your money back. Like if you get, people are worried about their produce, but
Like
if
bananas, yeah.
if you're not happy, you call back and they refund you. But it's delightful. And if you're hypomanic or manic, you buy less because you're not distracted because you're not in the store. And okay, they
Oh,
should give
that's
me money.
clever.
This podcast is not sponsored by
Yeah,
Superstore.
I was just gonna say this is like
If
you should be
if they
contacting
would
them.
like to, if they would like to sponsor me, I'm all in. But it is not. Other thing they do online, and many of them do this, is it remembers your favorites. So it has a store that's the things that you buy every time. So sometimes, even when I don't have time, I just click buy my favorites. So it'll
And then
send like the
as a
butter, sour
promotion,
cream.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's clever.
So yeah, tell me if you try it. Tell them my name.
No, but my
Shaley
comment,
from This Is Bipolar sent me. You should sponsor her podcast.
I will do that, Shaley, if I try it. But I gotta say, I don't think I'm gonna try it because I'm very cheap. So I,
Oh,
I go and I have the frustration of going to the parking lot, but I'm shopping at No Frills. So
yeah.
I feel like I'm saving, I don't know,
80 cents.
$15 on my bill.
Yeah.
I don't know, just groceries
But
need
Charise, if you will, is time not money?
time is money. Yes. It's a constant debate. This is
I
what's
know.
been going on partly in my head. Every
I know.
time I go to the grocery store, I'm like, yes, next time I'm doing
Next
it.
time.
And then I'm like, oh, $3. I don't want to spend a $3 fee.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Well, friend, this has been yeah, a delight.
Yeah,
This has
it's
been
great
a
talking.
gift to me. It's been fun to laugh and just remind ourselves of those things because I mean, I know these things, but just writing them down and reviewing them with you just, refreshed me. And
Yes.
it's just such a good reminder because already I could feel myself getting stuck in that this week. Like I don't have enough gifts or, I'm not doing enough. I only made Christmas balls, no other things. But have you heard there's a sugar shortage?
Yeah, exactly. So perfect. I remember one mom I knew told they were going to Tim Hortons with her daughter in the back seat, and her daughter was like, "Can I have a Timbit or a donut or whatever?" And her mom was like, "Oh, they only make donuts. They don't make donuts on Mondays. Today's Monday." And I was like, "Okay, that's
That's
one way to do it."
that's so funny. Well, my kids only got water, ice water. They tell this story all the time. Ice water at Starbucks until we went with a friend. Like for years, we'd walk up, I'd get my Starbucks, they'd get their little ice. They were so pumped about their ice water.
I'm
Right. And we
sure
went with a friend, and my friend got them the
I
kids'
got the
hot
pink stripe.
chocolate, and they ruined
Oh,
everything.
darn it.
They're like,
That's
Mom, you never told us. I was like, oh yeah, that's
actually sell other things. That's
so
funny.
cute. So cute. But yeah.
Really cute.
Let's leave it on this. If there is someone right now that is struggling, and maybe not feeling holly jolly, and maybe not even able to feel happy-ish in this holiday, what encouragement or what kind thing would you say to them, Charise?
Oh, that's tough. I'd want to say so many things. I would first of all tell them to be patient with themselves and know that it will pass. I always believe in, I'm a big believer of a bunch of mantras, but my favorite is this too shall pass. And I know some people think that is dismissive, but I really believe it. I really think this too shall pass can help you if you're struggling or if you're manic or if you're just happy. Hold on to this happy mood because it'll pass. But also I would say to try to do anything that gives you joy anything, as small as it can be. Brushing your teeth might give you joy. So if you can do one thing daily that gives you joy, that would be great. And if you can't, then to reach out to someone. If you have someone to reach out to, then contact that person. If you don't, I mean, there are so many of us online who would be able to support anybody who is looking for help, right? So whoever is listening or watching this podcast surely has resources available to find us online. You
Yes.
said we're in the comments, right?
Yeah, find us. We will listen. Sometimes I take a little bit, but I always try to get back to everybody. And yeah, I know a lot of people too. Just my thing too would be, if I was speaking to my prior sad self, I would say, you know, not everyone's having the best time. Not everything is merry and bright, and you don't have to pretend that you are feeling merry and bright too. And yeah, I'm thinking about, and now that I'm saying it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do a live where I'm just going to hang out. And if you're lonely and you want to hang out and write things in the comments and we chat back and forth, or just listen to me ramble, maybe in front of my nice Christmas tree. Yeah, I would love to do that, because I know a lot of people have said they don't actually have events to go to. So you can join me online, and I will figure that out and put it on Instagram, and we get to eat snacks together, whatever.
That's awesome, Shaley.
Yeah, it'll be the Bipolar Besties Christmas party. Yeah, so I would love to do that. For those of you that are on Instagram, I now have subscriptions available. So if the podcast means anything to you, or if you appreciate my work, or want to go deeper, become a subscriber. It's not that much. I think it's like $6.99 US. And there's all kinds of extra content in there. So all of the conversations that I've had since last year, I do an extra segment with everybody, and I've been putting it in there, and there's extra content. And we have a channel where it's like a WhatsApp group that's just for us on social media. So you have direct access, and I answer the messages a lot sooner on there. But I would just be forever grateful so that I can continue to do this work, because it is definitely a glimmer in my life. So Charise, I adore you. And I am so grateful for everything you put out in the world. And
same. I don't know how you do it all, honestly. It's amazing. Like everything that you do, and work and parent and everything. It's amazing.
Well, it's because I do it all ishly. So it's perfect. But yeah, awesome. Well, it was so good to see you. And I will be looking online and seeing what you're up to, and go follow Charise. And I hope that you have a merry-ish Christmas, whatever that looks like, whatever it looks like.
Same, Shaley.
Awesome.
Merry Christmas.
Bye, friend.
Bye. Thank you.